The in-laws laughed, giving the black woman the abandoned house, not knowing it was made of gold. Monica's discovery shook her to her core, but instead of rushing to tell anyone, she guarded the secret closely, knowing that if word ever leaked out, the very same in-laws who laughed at her would descend upon the house like vultures. For days, she wandered from room to room, tapping at walls, chipping away at corners, and confirming what the letter had implied. The house was not a ruin at all, but a fortress of hidden treasure. Beneath layers of plaster, in foundations, even in the ornate moldings, veins of gold ran like rivers frozen in stone. The grandfather who built this mansion had been a genius, a man who understood greed, secrecy, and the hunger of men. Instead of leaving his fortune in banks or trusts where it could be stolen, squandered, or taxed away, he had literally built it into the bones of his house. Generations had walked through these halls blind to the wealth beneath their feet, dismissing it as nothing but rot. And now, by the cruelty of fate, by the hatred of her in-laws, Monica, the woman they wanted to humiliate, was the one who held the key to everything. But with knowledge came fear, because secrets this powerful could never remain hidden for long. Already, Evelyn was growing suspicious. She visited the gate again, her eyes scanning Monica's face for weakness. "You look too happy," Evelyn remarked with narrowed eyes. "What could possibly make you smile in a place like this?" Monica feigned exhaustion, complained of leaks and endless work, all while her mind raced with plans. She knew she had to move carefully, for Evelyn's cruelty was matched only by her cunning. It wasn't long before Evelyn began sending spies, cousins, nephews, distant relatives, pretending to check on Monica. They brought baskets of food laced with backhanded remarks. "Poor thing," they said loudly enough for the neighbors to hear, "living in such filth. We'll pray she doesn't fall through the floorboards." Monica endured it all, her silence her shield. But one afternoon, while she was repairing a stairwell, she overheard two of Evelyn's cousins outside whispering. "Evelyn thinks she's hiding something," one said. "No one works that hard unless they've found something worth keeping." A chill ran down Monica's spine. She realized her biggest challenge was not just protecting the gold from discovery, but protecting herself from those who would stop at nothing to take it. As the weeks passed, Monica grew bolder. She contacted an old friend, James, a history professor from the local university who had once helped her with genealogical research. Without revealing everything, she asked him to analyze the letter and the strange markings on the ledgers. James grew fascinated, suspecting it hinted at some hidden architectural marvel. "Monica," he said quietly after days of study, "this house wasn't just built, it was engineered like a vault. I believe there are hidden chambers, maybe even tunnels. Whatever your husband's grandfather left behind, it was meant to last centuries." Monica's heart thundered. That night, armed with only a lantern and her courage, she searched deeper into the basement. She tapped at every wall, every seam, until finally one section gave a dull, hollow echo. Pushing hard, she discovered a narrow passage that descended into darkness. The air smelled of earth and history. She followed it until she reached a chamber lined with stone shelves, each stacked with bars, gold bars, dozens of them, gleaming even under layers of dust. She fell to her knees, tears spilling as she realized the truth. Her in-laws thought they had condemned her to rot in despair, but they had unknowingly handed her the legacy of kings. Yet with discovery, came a storm. Within days, Evelyn caught wind that Monica had been working with outsiders. Rumors spread through town like wildfire, that Monica had found something in the house, that she was suddenly walking with her head higher, her steps lighter. One evening, Evelyn stormed to the gate again, this time with Daniel's brother Richard, a tall, arrogant man who had always despised Monica. "Enough games," Richard shouted, his voice booming. "What have you found in there? Don't think you can hide it forever. That house doesn't belong to you, it belongs to this family." Monica stood firm on the porch, the flickering lantern light casting her shadow long and unyielding. "Daniel left it to me. By law and by his word, this is mine." Evelyn's eyes glittered with malice. "You think law will protect you, girl? The law bends to power, and we have more of it than you ever will." Monica closed the door slowly, locking it behind her, her hands trembling but her resolve steeled. She knew then that her survival depended on turning the very thing they mocked her for, her supposed weakness, into her greatest weapon. Days turned into nights of planning. Monica realized she couldn't keep the gold in the house forever. It would be dangerous, even deadly, once her in-laws grew desperate. She began contacting discreet buyers, learning the art of secrecy, converting small amounts of gold into cash under the radar. She didn't spend it lavishly. Instead, she bought tools, hired quiet laborers from outside town to help with repairs, and slowly transformed the house into something formidable. Hidden cameras, reinforced locks, secret compartments, her once vulnerable position turned into a fortress of strategy. All the while, she played the role of the struggling widow in public, sighing about leaky roofs and broken floors, letting the family believe she was wasting away in despair. But Evelyn wasn't fooled. One stormy night, Evelyn and Richard broke into the property, their flashlights cutting through the darkness like knives. Monica, awakened by the creaking of doors, hid silently in the shadows of the upper hall. She listened as they stomped through the rooms, tearing open cupboards, smashing through walls, desperate to uncover what she had hidden. At one point, Richard pounded the wall so hard he uncovered a small glimmer of gold beneath the plaster. His eyes widened with greed. "She's hiding it," he hissed. Evelyn's breath quickened, her laughter sharp and cruel. "I knew it. That little witch thought she could outsmart us." Monica's blood ran cold, but she forced herself to stay calm. She waited until they descended into the basement, then quietly slipped out of the house and ran to the sheriff's station. By the time she returned with deputies, Evelyn and Richard had vanished, but the broken walls revealed enough. They now knew what she had discovered. From that day forward, Monica's life became a battlefield. The family launched a war of intimidation. Threats slipped under her door, strangers lurking near the property, even attempts to cut off her utilities. Neighbors, once indifferent, grew wary of Monica, whispering that she had brought the curse of the old house to life. But Monica didn't falter. She doubled her efforts, building alliances outside the toxic circle of her in-laws. James became her confidant, helping her document every detail of the house's hidden wealth. A banker she trusted began advising her on safe investments. Quietly, Monica built not just a defense, but a future. Still, danger loomed. Evelyn, consumed by obsession, rallied more relatives, insisting that the house must be reclaimed, for the family's honor. Richard went further, hiring men from outside town, dangerous men, to break into the house and seize whatever they could. One night, Monica woke to the sound of shattering glass. Masked figures had entered the house, their heavy boots echoing through the halls. She grabbed the small revolver Daniel had left her, her hands trembling but steady enough to defend herself. She crept through the corridors, her mind racing, her body fueled by sheer survival. A struggle ensued, shouts, footsteps pounding, gunfire ringing through the decayed halls. By sheer will, Monica managed to scare them off, but the message was clear. This was no longer just about inheritance, it was war over a fortune that could change the fate of everyone involved. As the intruders fled into the night, Evelyn's car was spotted at the end of the lane, her silhouette unmistakable behind the wheel. Monica realized then that Evelyn would never stop until either she had the gold, or Monica was destroyed. But Monica had something Evelyn never understood. Resilience born of pain, strength carved from every insult, and the sharp mind of someone who had learned to survive in a world designed to crush her. She stood in the wreckage of her home, her chest heaving, and whispered to herself, "They gave me this house to break me. But this house will be the reason I rise." The storm had broken something open in Monica, not just in the house but in herself. For weeks after the attempted break-in, she lived like a soldier in enemy territory, sleeping lightly, listening for every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of the trees outside. Yet she refused to leave, refused to surrender the very thing that had been meant to destroy her but had instead become her salvation. She poured her strength into fortifying the mansion, restoring its beauty in secret. With every repaired wall and polished floor, she unearthed more veins of gold hidden within the structure, until it became clear that the house itself was less a ruin and more a masterpiece of hidden wealth, built with intention, as though Daniel's grandfather had known that one day, someone worthy would unlock its secrets. That worthiness had not been Evelyn, nor Richard, nor any of the others who mocked and spat her name, it was her. Yet as her power grew, so did the desperation of her enemies. Evelyn's visits became more venomous, her insults sharpened by the edge of envy. She no longer masked her hatred. "You'll never belong here," she spat through the iron gate one afternoon. "You may hold the keys, but this house bleeds our blood, not yours. You're nothing but a squatter in a graveyard." Monica stood tall, the sunlight behind her, the gold-flecked walls glimmering faintly through the window, and answered with calm fire, "Then this graveyard is where your arrogance was buried the day you laughed at me. I'm still standing. You are not." Evelyn's face twisted with rage, and from that moment Monica knew a final clash was inevitable. What Monica didn't expect was betrayal from within her own circle. James, the professor who had been her confidant, became intoxicated by the scale of the wealth he had glimpsed. Though at first he claimed he wanted to help her protect it, the temptation gnawed at him until, one evening, Monica discovered he had secretly photographed the hidden chambers and attempted to broker a deal with an out-of-town collector. The pain of that betrayal cut Monica deeply, for she had allowed herself to trust him in a way she had not trusted anyone since Daniel. She confronted James in the study, her voice steady but her heart cracking. "You, too, after everything I've endured, you would sell me like they tried to." James, shame flushing his face, stammered excuses about opportunity, about survival in a world that chewed up good men. But Monica silenced him with a single truth: strength is not in stealing. It's in standing. And you will never stand where I stand. She expelled him from her life, locking the doors to both the mansion and her heart. Alone again, she realized that this battle was hers and hers alone to finish. The in-laws, however, were not done scheming. Richard, with debts piling around him, grew reckless. He rallied a group of men, thugs willing to do anything for quick cash, and one moonless night they stormed the property again, armed and determined to strip the house of its treasure. But this time, Monica was ready. She had rewired the halls with alarms, hidden cameras that fed into a monitor she kept by her bedside, and reinforced the walls they sought to smash. As they forced their way inside, Monica triggered a system she had painstakingly prepared. Floodlights burst through the darkness, alarms wailed into the night, and the men found themselves blinded, exposed, and scrambling. Monica, revolver steady in her hand, descended the stairs like a figure carved from steel. "This house is alive," she called out, her voice echoing through the gilded corridors. "And it protects me now." Panicked, the men fled, leaving Richard cursing in the doorway. But when he turned, the sheriff and deputies, whom Monica had called in advance, were already waiting. Handcuffs clinked, and Richard's fury burned hotter than the flashing red lights. Evelyn, when she learned of her son's arrest, shrieked with indignation, her cries carrying through town. Yet to the townsfolk, it no longer sounded like the proud matriarch they once feared, it sounded like desperation, like the wail of a queen stripped of her crown. Still, Evelyn had one more card to play. Desperation gave birth to cunning, and she filed a lawsuit, claiming that Daniel's will was fraudulent, that Monica had manipulated him into leaving her the house. The court case became the talk of the town, people divided between those who sneered at Monica's presence and those who admired her quiet resilience. Monica walked into the courthouse each day with her head high, dressed simply, without the pretense of wealth, while Evelyn arrived in pearls and diamonds, performing grief like a stage actress. But when Monica presented the letter of Daniel's grandfather, the maps, and the ledgers, the courtroom fell silent. Expert witnesses testified to the authenticity, to the brilliant design of the house as both fortress and inheritance. And when Monica spoke, her words did not tremble. "He left it to me because he knew I would see what no one else cared to see. You mocked me, abandoned me, laughed as though I were nothing. But I am the only one who honored what he built. I am the one who brought this house back to life." The judge, unmoved by Evelyn's theatrics, ruled in Monica's favor, declaring her the rightful owner, beyond dispute. Evelyn's scream of rage echoed through the chamber, but it was drowned out by the applause of those who had come to respect Monica's journey. Freedom tasted sweet, but Monica understood the gold was not merely for her. She began to invest quietly in the community that had once scorned her. She funded scholarships for children, restored the library, built shelters for families in need. Slowly, the whispers that had once called her cursed transformed into reverent tones that called her blessed. The mansion itself, once rotting and feared, gleamed again under the sun, its walls shimmering faintly with the hidden wealth still buried within, a symbol of resilience and triumph. And as for Evelyn, she grew bitter in exile, her wealth squandered in legal fees, her reputation in tatters, until the same relatives who once laughed alongside her now turned away in shame. Monica never sought vengeance, she sought only justice, and she had found it not in the destruction of her enemies but in the life she built from their scorn. Years later, when strangers passed through the town and asked about the grand golden-flecked house on the hill, locals would tell the story with awe. "That's Monica's house," they'd say. Her in-laws laughed when they gave it to her, thought it was worthless. They didn't know it was made of gold. And she, the one they despised most, turned it into a legacy. And inside, Monica would sit by the window, the sunlight bathing her face, knowing that every insult, every tear, every moment of loneliness had led her here, to a throne built not of greed but of endurance, to a home that was not cursed but blessed. She would whisper a silent thank you to Daniel, to his grandfather, and to her own unbreakable spirit. For in the end, the house was never abandoned. It had been waiting all along, for her.